India has done it. It has become now the fourth country to land a spacecraft on the moon after the US and China and the former Soviet Union.
India is in the middle of its most ambitious infrastructure expansion yet. Expressways, smart cities and next-gen railway corridors. The government betting big on infra to drive economic growth.
As global attention stayed fixed on China, India moved almost unnoticed, unleashing a $5 trillion infrastructure surge unlike anything attempted before. From high-speed rail cutting across the Himalayas to smart cities emerging from bare ground, the country is constructing a future bold enough to rival China and recalibrate how the world thinks about development. Number 9. India's space projects. From cost efficiency to cosmic permanence. On July 14, 2023, the LVM-3 rocket rose from Sriharikota, cutting through coastal humidity and decades of doubt in one clean arc. What it carried, Chandrayaan-3, wasn't just another spacecraft. It was quiet, precise, and unmistakably confident. By August, that confidence paid off. Chandrayaan-3 touched down near the moon's south pole, a region no nation had ever reached. With that single landing, India became the fourth country in history to successfully land on the moon, after the Soviet Union, the United States, and China. No shortcuts, no partnerships, just indigenous engineering, disciplined execution, and a refusal to make noise until the job was done. The lunar South Pole isn't chosen for bragging rights. It's chosen because it matters. Permanently shadowed craters in the region are believed to contain water ice, the most valuable resource in space. Water means fuel. It means oxygen. It means the possibility of long-term lunar bases and deep space missions that don't have to carry everything from Earth. Landing there isn't easy. The terrain is uneven, lighting conditions are harsh, and communication windows are unforgiving. Chandrayaan-2 learned that the hard way in 2019, when a last-minute braking glitch caused the lander to crash. That failure wasn't buried. ISRO dissected it, simulated it, and rebuilt the system from the ground up. Chandrayaan-3 was the result of that humility. Improved hazard detection, better altimeters, throttleable engines for controlled descent. Then came the number that stunned the world, $75 million. That's the total cost of Chandrayaan-3. For comparison, NASA's latest Mars mission cost nearly $3 billion. India didn't just land on the moon, it did it for less than the budget of a Hollywood blockbuster. This wasn't corner-cutting either, it was engineering discipline. ISRO builds incrementally, reuses proven systems, avoids unnecessary redundancy, and designs everything with cost in mind from day one. No gold-plated components, no mission creep, just function, reliability, and relentless testing. ISRO operates on an annual budget of roughly $1.6 billion. NASA's is about $25 billion. Yet India launches satellites regularly, provides commercial launch services to dozens of countries, navigates independently using Navic, and now lands spacecraft where no one else has. This approach, often called Jugaad, is frugal innovation at scale, and it's working. Chandrayaan-3 was a national effort in the truest sense. ISRO led the mission, but dozens of Indian public and private firms supplied critical components. Hindustan Aeronautics Limited and BHEL built propulsion hardware and titanium tanks. Companies like Ananth Technologies and Data Patterns supplied electronics. Every major subsystem, from navigation software to thermal insulation, was developed domestically. The lander and rover were assembled, dropped, shaken, frozen, overheated, and tested relentlessly at ISRO facilities. Failures were expected, surprises were not. By the time Vikram lifted off, it had already landed dozens of times in simulations harsher than the moon itself. Chandrayaan-3 wasn't a finale, it was a proof point. Next is Gaganyaan, India's first human spaceflight program. By 2027, India plans to send 3 astronauts to low Earth orbit aboard an entirely Indian-built spacecraft, launched by the GSLV Mark III rocket. Astronauts are already training, at home and in Russia. Crew modules have been tested, abort systems validated, step by step, methodically. Beyond that, India is aiming for a space station by 2025 and a crewed lunar mission by 2040. Reusable launch vehicles are already under development, promising even lower costs per launch. But this isn't about flags or headlines. It's about infrastructure, placing India inside the future space economy, expected to be worth trillions of dollars in the coming decades. India now launches satellites for over 30 countries. It's a space power, yes, but more importantly, it's becoming a space service provider, reliable, affordable, independent. And if India can land on the moon for the price of a blockbuster, imagine what it's building back on Earth, moving at an incredible speed. Number 8. India's first bullet train, engineering speed through complexity. The Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail corridor is the country's opening move into true high-speed rail, and it's an ambitious one. Stretching 508 kilometers, it links Mumbai, India's financial nerve center, with Ahmedabad, one of its most powerful industrial hubs. On paper, it's a train line. In reality, it's an economic accelerator. Once operational, trains will travel at 320 kilometers per hour, shrinking a 7-hour journey into a 2-hour glide. That's not convenience. That's a reshaping of daily life. Executives, engineers, factory managers, and entrepreneurs will be able to work in one city and return home the same day without planning their lives around traffic and flight schedules. And that's exactly why this route matters. Mumbai generates capital. Ahmedabad turns it into factories, goods, and exports. The bullet train compresses that relationship into something closer, faster, and more fluid. The corridor cuts through some of the most challenging terrain in Western India. Mountains, rivers, dense urban zones, and environmentally sensitive areas all sit directly in its path. Instead of detouring, engineers chose to go through. The headline feature is a 21-kilometer tunnel between Thane and Virar. Within it lies a 7-kilometer stretch running under the sea, dug to avoid disturbing thick forest cover above. At its deepest point, the tunnel reaches 250 meters below ground, deeper than a 70-story skyscraper is tall. Then there are the rivers. 24 crossings, including a 1.4-kilometer bridge over the Narmada River, engineered to remain stable while trains streak across it at near-aircraft speeds. Every structure had to account for seismic activity, soil variability, monsoon flooding, and zero margin for error. High-speed rail doesn't forgive mistakes. That's why nearly 90% of the corridor is elevated, forming what will become the longest viaduct system in the world. Elevated tracks reduce land acquisition, eliminate level crossings, and dramatically improve safety. But they're expensive and technically demanding. India chose the harder option because it lasts longer. For technology, India turned to the gold standard, Japan's Shinkansen system. This isn't experimental hardware. The Shinkansen has carried billions of passengers over 6 decades without a single fatal accident due to train operations. Earthquakes, typhoons, dense cities. Japan solved these problems long ago, and India wanted those solutions intact. But this isn't a copy-paste job. Under the agreement with Japan, technology is being transferred under the Make in India framework. Indian engineers design the bridges and tunnels. Indian workers cast the viaducts. Components are increasingly manufactured locally, driving down long-term costs and building domestic expertise. The project's estimated cost, around $15 to $17 billion, sounds enormous until you compare it globally. Similar high-speed rail lines elsewhere have cost far more per kilometer. India is learning fast, adapting faster, and building cheaper without compromising safety. When complete, the corridor is expected to carry 40,000 passengers every day. And this is just the beginning. The Mumbai-Ahmedabad line is the first of 7 planned high-speed corridors, intended to eventually stitch together India's largest urban and industrial regions. What aviation did for long-distance travel in the 20th century, high-speed rail is about to do for regional economies in the 21st. Construction hasn't been smooth. COVID delays, land acquisition challenges, and cost escalations slowed progress. But by late 2025, over 320 kilometers of viaducts were already standing, stations were rising, and tunnel breakthroughs had been achieved. The first operational section in Gujarat is now targeted for 2027, with full operations expected by 2029. This isn't just a train, it's a rehearsal for a faster India, one where distance stops dictating opportunity. And if speed can redraw geography, the next question is finance. Number 7. Gift City. Engineering an offshore financial rival. Imagine taking Singapore's financial efficiency, Dubai's architectural ambition, and Wall Street's capital gravity, then placing all of it on a clean slate in Western India. No legacy clutter, no inherited constraints, just intent. That's Gujarat International Finance Tech City, better known as Gift City. And unlike most mega projects that live on PowerPoint slides for years, Gift City is already alive. Towers are occupied, trades are happening, people walk to work. Built along the banks of the Sabarmati River between Ahmedabad and Gandhinagar, Gift City sits just minutes from an international airport and is directly connected to highways and metro lines. Its placement is deliberate, close enough to India's commercial heartland to draw talent, yet legally distinct enough to operate under a different financial rulebook. The ambition is clear: compete directly with Singapore, Hong Kong, and Dubai, not someday, but now. What makes Gift City feel different isn't immediately visible. In fact, most of its most important infrastructure is buried beneath your feet. The entire city is built around underground utility corridors, power lines, water pipes, telecom cables, sewage systems. Everything runs below ground. No overhead wires, no exposed infrastructure, no emergency road digging every time a cable fails. Sensors constantly monitor flow, pressure, leaks, and energy use, allowing the city to fix problems before anyone notices them. Its urban design borrowed from the future: cleaner streets, faster maintenance, fewer disruptions. The result is a place that feels oddly calm for a financial district. Less chaos, more control. Above ground, the city unfolds in phases across 886 acres, blending commercial towers, residential buildings, schools, hospitals, hotels, and public spaces into a walkable grid. When fully built, Gift City will host over 1 million square meters of commercial space and house up to 100,000 residents. Live, work, trade, repeat. But infrastructure alone doesn't make a financial hub. Rules do. Gift City operates as a special economic zone and, more importantly, as an international financial services center. That status allows India to do something radical: offer offshore-style financial regulations without leaving the country. Inside Gift City, banks and financial institutions enjoy tax incentives, lighter capital controls, simplified compliance, and globally familiar legal frameworks, the kind typically found in London or Singapore, not Mumbai. That's why global players moved in fast. JP Morgan, HSBC, Deutsche Bank, Citi, Bank of America, Barclays, Standard Chartered. Add fintech startups, 2 international stock exchanges trading tens of billions of dollars daily, and India's first international bullion exchange. Over 500 companies are already operating here, and the list keeps growing. This is India quietly pulling financial activity back on shore without forcing it, by making home competitive. Gift City isn't about skyscrapers, it's about a shift in identity. For decades, India was known primarily as a back office, outsourcing, IT services, support functions. Gift City represents a pivot toward capital markets, asset management, global finance, and financial innovation. It's India saying it wants to price risk, not just process it. There's also a currency angle. By routing more international finance through Gift City, India strengthens its push toward rupee internationalization, reducing dependence on foreign financial centers and foreign currencies over time. That's not just economic ambition, it's financial sovereignty. The target is bold: capture 20% of India's financial services activity by 2030. That's roughly a $1 trillion opportunity. And unlike many grand goals, this one already has momentum, tenants, and transactions to back it up. India has also figured out that capital flows need gateways, and she's constructing one of the largest physical gateways on Earth. Number 6. Navi Mumbai International Airport. Building a global air hub. Navi Mumbai International Airport, when fully complete, it will rank among the largest airports on Earth. Not because space was available, but because India created the space. The site spans 1,160 hectares. To make that land exist, engineers flattened entire hills and used the excavated earth to reclaim coastline from the Arabian Sea. That's nearly 2,000 football fields worth of terrain shaped from scratch. This wasn't construction, it was topographical surgery. It took close to 2 decades of planning, river diversions, creek bridges, and environmental approvals before the first terminal even opened. But in October 2025, the wait ended. Commercial operations began soon after, and Mumbai officially became the first Indian city with 2 international airports, a necessity, not a luxury, for one of the most congested aviation markets in the world. From the air, the scale becomes impossible to miss. The airport will ultimately feature 2 parallel runways, each stretching 3,700 meters. That's long enough to comfortably handle the world's largest commercial aircraft, including the Airbus A380 and Boeing 747-8. Wide-body jets won't just land here, they'll arrive with room to spare. Then there's the terminal. Phase 1 alone delivers a terminal spanning 710,000 square meters, larger than Dubai International's Terminal 3, currently one of the biggest in the world. Picture 100 Walmart supercenters stitched together under one roof, and that's just the beginning. Designed by Zaha Hadid architects, the terminal draws inspiration from a lotus flower, symbolic, yes, but also functional, guiding passenger flow naturally through the space. Automated baggage handling systems powered by AI, rainwater harvesting, and energy-efficient systems are built into the design from day one. Sustainability here isn't a side feature. It's structural. At full capacity, Navi Mumbai International Airport is designed to handle 90 million passengers annually. It's roughly equivalent to every resident of California, Texas, and New York combined passing through a single airport each year. When that happens, it will become India's busiest airport, overtaking even Delhi. The impact is immediate. Mumbai's existing airport, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj International, already handles over 54 million passengers a year, far beyond what it was designed for. Delays, congestion, and bottlenecks have long been unavoidable. Navi Mumbai changes that equation overnight. Phase 1 alone adds capacity for 20 million passengers annually, easing pressure on the old airport while giving airlines room to expand routes, schedules, and frequencies. For travelers, it means fewer delays. For airlines, it means growth without gridlock. But the real power of this project isn't measured in passengers. It's measured in economic gravity. Navi Mumbai International Airport is being built as an aerotropolis, an airport-centered economic ecosystem. Cargo terminals, logistics hubs, warehousing zones, hotels, convention centers, and business parks will cluster around the runways. This isn't just about people flying in and out. It's about goods moving faster, cheaper, and farther. For Maharashtra's farmers and fishermen, the airport opens direct access to international markets in Europe and the Middle East. For small manufacturers and exporters, it slashes logistics costs. For global investors, it turns Mumbai into a more efficient entry point into the Indian economy. Developed through a public-private partnership involving the Adani Group, CIDKO, and airport authorities, the project reflects India's broader ambition under Viksit Bharat 2047 to build infrastructure that doesn't just support growth, but creates it. An airport, in this context, becomes more than a transit point. It becomes a multiplier. And while moving people at this scale is impressive, it's only half the story of what's happening in India. Number 5. The India Semiconductor Mission, breaking global dependency. If oil powered the 20th century, semiconductors run the 21st. Every phone call, financial transaction, satellite signal, electric vehicle, missile system, and AI model depends on chips no bigger than a fingernail. They are the quiet backbone of modern civilization, and right now, the world's supply of them is dangerously fragile. A handful of regions dominate semiconductor manufacturing: Taiwan, South Korea, and parts of East Asia. One natural disaster, one geopolitical flashpoint, one trade conflict. That's all it takes to send shockwaves through the global economy. The chip shortages of the early 2020s were a warning shot. India paid attention. The India Semiconductor Mission isn't a symbolic gesture or a pilot program. It's a $10 billion government-backed intervention designed to pull India into the core of global chip manufacturing, and do it fast. In semiconductor terms, speed matters. Fabs take years to plan, build, and calibrate. Miss a cycle, and you're obsolete before you start. That's why India streamlined approvals, locked in incentives, and pushed projects through at a pace that surprised even industry veterans. The message was simple. If you're building chips, India is open for business. And companies responded. 3 major semiconductor projects anchor India's push, each targeting a different but essential layer of the supply chain. First is the Tata Group's partnership with Taiwan's Powerchip Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation, a $14 billion fabrication plant in Gujarat. This isn't a niche facility. It's designed to produce chips used in smartphones, automobiles, industrial equipment, and consumer electronics, exactly the kind of chips the world can't afford to run out of. Then, there's CG Power's collaboration with Japan's Renesas, another strategically critical move. Japan brings decades of expertise in automotive and industrial chips, segments expected to explode as electric vehicles, smart grids, and automation scale globally. And finally, Micron Technology, one of America's biggest memory chip makers, is investing $2.75 billion in an assembly and testing facility, also in Gujarat. This plant handles the final precision-heavy stages of chip production, where performance is validated and failures are caught before products reach the market. Together, these facilities will produce billions of chips every year. But here's the key point. India isn't stopping at assembly. For years, India was already a semiconductor heavyweight, just not in the way most people realized. Roughly 20% of the world's chip design talent works in India. Engineers in Bengaluru, Hyderabad, and Noida design processors for Qualcomm, Intel, AMD, Nvidia, and Apple. The brains were already here. What was missing was the factory floor. By moving from design-only participation to full-stack manufacturing, from silicon wafers to finished chips, India closes the loop. That changes everything. It shortens supply chains. It protects intellectual property. It builds domestic expertise not just in engineering, but in materials, science, precision manufacturing, and advanced testing. Universities are expanding semiconductor programs. Specialized training pipelines are being built. Entire supplier ecosystems, chemicals, gases, tools, logistics are forming around the fabs. India's goal is blunt: become a top 5 global semiconductor producer by 2030. That's ambitious, but it's not unrealistic. Government support is locked in. Private capital is committed. Talent already exists. And global demand for chips is only accelerating, with AI, electric vehicles, defense systems, and automation pushing consumption to historic highs. More importantly, India's rise adds redundancy to a system that desperately needs it. A more geographically diverse chip supply isn't just good for India, it's stabilizing for the entire global economy. As India's technology minister put it, by the early 20s, the playing field will finally be level. After that, it becomes a fair race. And while chips are built inside clean rooms, their impact doesn't stay there. Because factories need movement. Movement needs infrastructure. And infrastructure needs scale. And India is building an industrial spine, longer than entire countries. Number 4. Delhi-Mumbai. Industrial corridor, an economy stretched across 1,500 kilometers. Calling the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor a road is like calling the internet a cable. It misses the point entirely. This is a $100 billion economic system stretching 1,500 kilometers across the heart of India, an industrial artery designed to move goods, people, energy, and data at continental scale. End to end, it runs roughly the same distance as New York City to Miami, except instead of beaches and highways, it's lined with factories, logistics hubs, ports, power plants, and cities that didn't exist a decade ago. This isn't infrastructure reacting to growth. It's infrastructure forcing growth into existence. The Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, or DMIC, links India's political capital to its financial engine, crossing 6 states and reshaping everything in between. Backed by both Indian and Japanese investment and engineering expertise, the corridor was designed with a single question in mind. What does India need to look like to remain competitive for the next 4 decades? The answer wasn't incremental upgrades. It was a clean sheet redesign. At the core of DMIC is a logistics spine. Dedicated freight railways, 8-lane expressways, and high-capacity power and data networks. Freight trains here don't compete with passenger traffic. Trucks don't crawl through cities. Containers move faster, cheaper, and more predictably than anywhere else in the country. That efficiency alone reshapes manufacturing economics. Utilities are AI managed. Power, water, waste, and traffic systems talk to each other in real time. Industrial zones are plug and play, meaning a manufacturer can move in and start producing without spending years building basic infrastructure first. Sustainability isn't an afterthought, it's baked into the blueprint. Renewable energy integration, water recycling, green transport corridors, and zoning that keeps residential, commercial, and industrial areas intelligently balanced. The DMIC covers roughly 150,000 square kilometers, an area larger than Pennsylvania. When fully developed, it will directly impact around 180 million people. That's more than half the population of the United States, living within the gravitational pull of a single economic system. And this matters because India's future is urban. By 2030, the majority of its GDP will be generated in cities. The corridor doesn't just absorb that shift, it organizes it, preventing the chaotic, infrastructure-starved urbanization that has slowed growth in the past. Multiple states, once operating in economic silos, are now stitched together into a single production network. The DMIC is designed to do one thing exceptionally well: make India competitive as a manufacturing and export powerhouse. Factories along the corridor can source materials faster, move products cheaper, and reach ports with minimal friction. Logistics costs drop. Delivery timelines tighten. Global firms get predictability, something manufacturers value almost as much as low labor costs. The ambition is clear: raise manufacturing's share of India's GDP from roughly 16% to 25%, injecting hundreds of billions of dollars into the economy every year. And DMIC isn't a one-off, it's a template. Additional industrial corridors, east-west, north-south, are already approved or in planning, each extending the same logic across the subcontinent. India isn't building isolated megaprojects anymore, it's building systems. Yet even as the country races forward, laying rails, raising cities, and wiring factories, it's also doing something else. It's anchoring the future to its past. Number 3. The Statue of Unity. Monumental scale, strategic tourism. The Statue of Unity doesn't ease into view. It announces itself. Rising 182 meters above the Narmada Valley, it is the tallest statue on Earth by a margin so large it feels almost unfair. The Statue of Liberty, icon of a superpower, stands at 93 meters. This one is nearly twice as tall, but height is only the headline. What matters is what India wrapped around it. Building the world's tallest statue in a remote river valley isn't a simple matter of stacking metal. The structure had to withstand high winds, seismic activity, and extreme temperature swings. Inside the bronze exterior is a steel and concrete core engineered to flex rather than fight the elements. The statue stands on Sadhu Bet, a river island facing the Sardar Sarovar Dam. Access alone required major civil works, including a 300-meter bridge spanning the Narmada. Every piece, bronze panels, steel frames, internal elevators, had to be precision fabricated, transported, and assembled with millimeter accuracy. Here's the part often missed. The statue itself is only the centerpiece. Around it, India built an entire tourism ecosystem from the ground up. There's a 20,000 square meter visitor center, a 17,000 square meter convention complex, landscaped gardens, museums, riverfront promenades, and hotels designed to keep people from leaving. Inside the statue, high-speed elevators shoot visitors up through the legs to an internal viewing gallery at 153 meters. From there, the valley opens up. The river below, the dam stretching across the horizon, and the surrounding hills framed like a living map. Then there's the timeline. From groundbreaking to inauguration, the Statue of Unity was completed in just 33 months. That's not fast by Indian standards. It's fast by global megaproject standards. Projects of comparable symbolic scale elsewhere often take a decade or more. The total cost came in at around $430 million. Significant, yes, but modest when measured against the visitor numbers and economic impact that followed. Since opening in 2018, the site has attracted tens of millions of visitors, quickly becoming one of India's most visited attractions. Hotels filled, local transport expanded, entire nearby towns were pulled into the tourism economy. This is the quiet math of monument building. Spend once, earn for decades. The Statue of Unity is a tribute to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the man who unified hundreds of princely states into modern India. That symbolism is deliberate. Nation building isn't just about roads and factories. It's also about shared stories, visible at a scale people can feel. India didn't just build the tallest statue in the world. It built a magnet, and magnets pull people in. But people alone don't move economies at scale. Goods do, energy does, trade does. Number 2. Sagarmala, re-engineering India's maritime spine. Every great trading power eventually learns the same lesson. Control the coast, and you control the flow of wealth. India has 7,500 kilometers of coastline, one of the longest on Earth. Yet for decades, it treated the sea as an afterthought. Goods crawled inland by truck. Ports lagged behind global standards. Logistics costs quietly bled competitiveness. Sagarmala is the moment that changed. Launched as a national rethink of maritime strategy, Sagarmala, its name drawn from Sanskrit, meaning string of pearls, is exactly that. A chain of high-capacity ports, logistics hubs, industrial zones, and shipping corridors stitched tightly along India's shores. Not isolated upgrades, but a single integrated system designed to turn geography into advantage. If you traced India's coastline end to end, it would roughly match the distance from Seattle to Miami. Sagarmala's ambition is to make every usable stretch of that distance economically productive. Instead of a few overloaded megaports, India is building a distributed maritime network. Dozens of modern ports feeding into highways, rail lines, pipelines, and inland waterways. Cargo doesn't bottleneck, it flows. This is port-led development at continental scale. At the heart of Sagarmala is a wave of port expansion that borders on audacious. Take Jawaharlal Nehru Port near Mumbai, India's busiest container gateway. Its capacity is being doubled from 5 million to 10 million TEUs annually. That's 10 million standardized containers every year. Stack them end to end, and you could circle the planet multiple times. On the eastern coast, Paradip Port in Odisha is undergoing heavy mechanization. Automated coal handling systems capable of processing 20 million tons annually are replacing manual operations, slashing turnaround times and labor bottlenecks. Then there's Mundra Port, already India's largest private port, expanding with new berths that add 50 million tons of capacity, effectively creating another mid-sized port overnight. And these aren't exceptions. Across the country, 67 ports are being modernized, expanded, or built from scratch. The investment bill? Roughly $120 billion, spread across ports, connectivity, shipbuilding, and logistics zones. Here's where Sagarmala becomes quietly revolutionary. Historically, nearly 95% of India's freight moved by road or rail. It was expensive, congested, and polluting. Sagarmala flips that equation by reviving coastal shipping and inland waterways. Moving goods by sea is up to 60% cheaper than trucking them across the country. It also emits far less carbon and frees highways for passenger travel. That shift alone reshapes India's logistics math. Sagarmala doesn't stop at the coast. It pushes inland, deep inland. India has over 14,500 kilometers of potentially navigable waterways, many of which sat underused for decades. Under Sagarmala, river cargo volumes have exploded, growing several-fold in just a few years. Ferries, barges, and RoPax vessels are moving everything from coal to cars to people. It's slower than air, sure, but for bulk goods, it's brutally efficient. When Sagarmala is fully realized, India's ports will handle around 3.5 billion tons of cargo annually, roughly 3 times current capacity. Logistics costs are projected to drop by $35 billion every year. That's not a marginal improvement. That's a structural shift. Faster port turnarounds mean exporters ship quicker, importers pay less, supply chains become more predictable. And India, sitting astride major Indo-Pacific trade routes, begins to function as a logistics hub, not just a destination. This matters globally. As companies look to diversify supply chains beyond East Asia, India's maritime rebuild makes it viable at scale. All of this, ports, factories, cities, depends on one thing above all else: roads, and India is laying them faster than almost any nation in history. Number 1. Bharatmala, the highway system that rewrites India's economics. Every economic transformation eventually hits the same bottleneck. How fast can things move? In India's case, raw materials, factory goods, people, food, fuel, the answer used to be not fast enough. Bharatmala is the response to that problem, scaled to continental proportions. This is India's largest highway program in history. Not an upgrade, not a patchwork, a full rewrite. The plan covers 83,677 kilometers of highways being built or modernized. To put that in perspective, Earth's circumference is about 40,000 kilometers. Bharatmala lays enough road to circle the planet more than twice, and then some. And this isn't one long road, it's an entire system. What makes Bharatmala jaw-dropping isn't just scale, it's tempo. India is currently constructing about 37 kilometers of highway every single day. That's roughly 23 miles daily, the length of Manhattan, built from tip to tip, every day. Over a year, that adds up to around 13,500 kilometers of new roads. At its peak, China built about 20,000 kilometers of highways per year. India is now operating in the same league, and closing the gap fast. This pace changes everything. Projects that once dragged on for decades now move on a predictable timeline. Investors plan around it. Industries follow it. Bharatmala isn't about isolated highways cutting through empty land. It's designed around economic corridors, 44 of them, linking factories to ports, cities to logistics hubs, farms to markets. Add to that 2,000 kilometers of coastal roads tying ports into inland trade routes, and 9,000 kilometers of border roads built with national security in mind. Today, national highways make up only about 2% of India's road network, yet they carry nearly 40% of all traffic. Bharatmala fixes that imbalance by expanding capacity where it matters most. When complete, national highway connectivity will reach around 80% of India's districts, up from just over 40% before the program began. If Bharatmala has a flagship, it's the Delhi-Mumbai Expressway, stretching 1,380 kilometers. This is India's first fully access-controlled 8-lane expressway. When finished, the drive between Delhi and Mumbai drops from roughly 24 hours to just 12. The engineering underneath is just as impressive. 8 major interchanges, dozens of bypasses that divert traffic away from crowded cities, multiple railway overpasses, and 9 tunnels, including one 3.6 kilometers long, drilled straight through rugged terrain. These aren't roads hugging old alignments. They're greenfield corridors designed for speed, safety, and scale. Here's the part that rarely makes headlines. In India, logistics costs hover around 14% of GDP, nearly double what efficient economies pay. Bharatmala aims to cut that by 20 to 25%. That translates to around $100 billion in annual savings once the network is fully operational. Every kilometer of highway unlocks land. Warehouses pop up. Factories cluster near exits. Farmers reach markets faster. Labor mobility increases. Regional inequality shrinks. During construction alone, Bharatmala generates over 10 crore man-days of employment, with an estimated 22 million long-term jobs emerging from the economic activity that follows. This is infrastructure doing exactly what it's supposed to do, multiplying opportunity. Bharatmala wasn't launched to win rankings or set records. It exists because India recognized a hard truth. No manufacturing push, no export strategy, no industrial corridor works without frictionless roads. This isn't India playing catch-up anymore. It's India compressing distance, time, and cost simultaneously. India isn't announcing a new world order. It isn't waving a flag or issuing ultimatums. It's doing something far more effective. It's building one, kilometer by kilometer, chip by chip, orbit by orbit. Please click the cards on the screen now for more interesting videos.